Because I'm not an expert in social media. Robbie, I think, is. I use social media, and I use it well. But I'm not here to talk about social media. I'm here to talk about the concept of being tweetworthy. You see, my concept of tweetworthiness was created, or started to form about 15 years ago, long before the first tweet was ever Twitter. You see, I was at a party in North Carolina. And it was one of my dad's very good friends was throwing this party, and it was a big deal. As a matter of fact, it was a kickoff for the United Way. And so the guest of honor was Casey Kasem. And so the man throwing the party, they were getting the backyard, the big backyard ready, setting up the tents, the bandstands, and all this. And he said, "Patrick, I can go pick Casey up from the airport. Will you do it for me?" And he hands me the keys to his Mercedes. And I said, "I can work it in." I drove his Mercedes to the airport. And in those days, you could walk straight to the gate. So I stood there waiting on Casey Kasem to get off the plane. And I saw him, and I walked up, and I said, "Mr. Kasem, nice to meet you. I'm going to be escorting you back to High Point." And so we started talking in the car, and I had 30 minutes alone with Casey Kasem. And we're talking about music, and I was getting ready to move to Nashville. That was always my dream. And so he said, "Patrick, I love country music." I said, "You do?" He said, "As a matter of fact, I created the Country Music Countdown." Didn't have enough time to host it. He said, "I'd love to hear some of your songs." And I thought, this is it. Casey Kasem wants to hear my songs. And I said, "I don't have a demo. But when I do, I'll make sure I get one to you." 3 years later, I'm in Anaheim, California at a conference. And I found out that Casey Kasem was going to be speaking at that conference. And so I started pulling all the strings that I knew. And I got permission to go pick he and his wife up in the golf cart at the front of the property and drive them back to the meeting room. And so I did, and I picked him up, and they're sitting in the back of the golf cart, had 2 seats, and I'm sitting up front, and I said, "Mr. Kasem, you don't remember me, but I drove you to that party in North Carolina." He said, "You're the country singer, right?" I said, "That's right." And I said, "You asked me for a demo tape," and I didn't have one, but I got one now. And I handed him my demo tape. A few hours later, I get back to my room that evening, and there's a message on my answering machine in the hotel room. "Patrick, this is Casey Kasem. I had a chance to listen to your demo tape, and I think it's wonderful. I'm going to call my friend Mike Curb in Nashville, Tennessee. Expect a phone call." And I thought, this is how it all happens. This is how stars are born. And so I got back to Nashville, and I waited for the phone to ring, and it actually did ring. And it was the head of A&R for Curb Records. "Patrick, I got a phone call from Casey Kasem saying we need to meet. Can you come into the office?" I said, "I'm on my way." And so I went to the office, and I'm saying, this is how it all starts. I'm taking notes because it's certainly going to go in my autobiography one day. Hand over my demo tape. You remember cassette tapes, don't you? A&R director puts it in the player, and I sit back and I wait for all the praise to start. Turn the tape off, hands it back to me, and says something I'll never forget. She said, "Patrick, this song's good." I get a lot of good songs. As a matter of fact, every week I get hundreds of good songs on this desk. Let me tell you about a hit song. A hit song has to have a quality that makes the listener want to get up, drive to the record store. You remember those? Drive to the record store, pay $15 just to hear that CD again, just to hear that tape again. Your songs don't have that. I felt like she had punched me right in the stomach. But my mom and her Bible study. But Casey came. Nice to meet you. And I walked out of that office, and I was just blown away. And I was upset, and I couldn't believe it. But now, in hindsight, it was the best lesson I ever received in business. And I call it being tweetworthy. You see, I started to put those two equations together 2 years ago in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm delivering a program on customer loyalty and customer service. And the whole time there's a woman on the front row doing this with her iPhone. And I'm thinking, what's she doing? Because up until that point, I was one of the speakers who would say, please turn your phones off. And afterwards, she walked up to me and she said, Patrick, what's your Twitter address? And I said, why? She goes, because I've been tweeting about you the whole time and I want people to know how to find you. That was it. That's when I realized the power that the audience, customers have between us. You see, now it's a two-way relationship. We don't just deliver service. It's a back and forth. You see, my marketing professors, just like your marketing professors in college, would always tell us for every negative or for every positive customer experience, they're going to tell 5 to 7 people. For every negative customer experience, they're going to tell 8 to 12 people. Or whatever the numbers were at the time. See, now, that's not the case. Now, for every negative experience or positive experience that we produce, now people have the power to tell 7 to 10 million people. That's our opportunity, is to create these tweet-worthy moments throughout. Something that would make somebody stop in the middle of what they're doing at your party and tell the world how awesome it is, how different it is, and how they got to have you. That's what being tweet-worthy is about. What are you known for?